Hey guys, it's Robert here for Basketball Zone. We're coming off the 115-109 Raptor win over the 76ers on the road. Here are my three takeaways. So my first takeaway is that OG Anunoby's playmaking has ascended to a new level this season. Now, we are no strangers to watching OG Anunoby take a step in the offseason. This is a guy who's notorious hard worker, and he always adds something, right? I mean, look at where we were in his rookie year and look at where we've come to now. And I want to remind you, just a fun little fact here. He is 1 month older than Pacers star rookie Chris Duarte. He's a very young player, and it's encouraging to see that every offseason he adds one more thing to his game. So we started out with OG as a rookie and basically was a guy who just stood in the corner and hit a reasonable number of threes, right? Was very limited beyond that. He dribbled the ball. It was usually a turnover. Slowly, we worked up to a guy who could make a couple dribbles into the paint, pull up. And this year, we're seeing the whole package. We're seeing a guy who's gone from that, what he was, just a 3-and-D, projected 3-and-D guy, to he's exceeded every expectation that anyone had for him as a rookie, myself included. And what you saw here tonight was just incredible advanced reads. And these are just not the types of plays that players like OG typically develop the ability to make. Now, I did a video breakdown for Pensare Films, where I looked at the Brooklyn Nets beating the Toronto Raptors, and there were plays where James Harden did exactly what OG did tonight. I'm not saying it looks as smooth as when James Harden does it. James Harden is a generational offensive player, probably one of the 50 greatest players of all time already. So I'm not comparing OG to that. I'm saying that those were the type of plays where James Harden would break down the defense, suck in three defenders, kick it out to Joe Harris, kick it off to LaMarcus Aldridge underneath the basket. That's what elite initiators are supposed to be able to do. I'm not saying OG is an elite initiator. I'm just saying that he has shown me more potential in these past two games than Pascal Siakam has shown me in 2 seasons of being the type of guy who can make those reads. Now, I want to clarify for Raptor fans out there who may not know what the hell is an advanced read, what's a simple read. Well, let me take you through the play, right? When you isolate a guy, right? When you isolate a player on the perimeter, right? You're doing it to get past him, right? Now, if you're Precious Achiuwa, you make up your mind when you get past that guy, okay, I'm going to shoot or I'm going to pass. Just very simple, right? And that's usually why Precious Achiuwa goes 1 for 10, right? Like he did tonight. That's just it's a lack of processing, right? So when you get past that, you get to advanced reads. So what OG does is he picks up a defender, he identifies a mismatch. Andre Drummond on OG Anunoby is a mismatch. I'm honestly surprised the Raptors didn't cook Drummond on the perimeter with Scottie Barnes and OG every single possession, but that actually leads into my second point, so let's just talk about this now. And what we're going to see here is that OG Anunoby, he goes past this man, but he does not commit to a pass. He's getting past his man to get past his man. And then he has to make a second read, which is the defense and the offense have now shifted, right? Players are not where they're supposed to be. You'll often see a player who isn't used to initiating the offense, and they'll just dribble into a corner and then pass to the crowd because there was a guy who was there before, but he's not there anymore. So when you see advanced initiators like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, guys like this, they have a cerebral awareness of all 9 guys on the court because every one of those guys is like a chess piece. And as those guys move, your opportunities change. So what was so impressive what OG did last game when he made the pass to Fred and then he made the pass to Scottie Barnes underneath the basket, and what he did tonight was that he sucked in the defense and then he found the right option. And when you actually go back and break it down in slow motion, you'll notice he had several options and he always chose the right one. Wide open, Gary Trent Jr. for a corner 3, most efficient shot in the game, off the catch, and then right to the pocket. Fred VanVleet, they never had to adjust it. It was right into the shooting pocket and bam, 6 points. So if you're going to look at the box score and say OG Anunoby only had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, that's not a big game. To that, I would say go check where those 20 points came, when they came, check out the importance of those final 2 assists, and then let me know what kind of game OG Anunoby had. Don't look at the box scores, guys. Look at the game. My second takeaway of the night is that this was the best and worst of Fred VanVleet. Now, usually I'm used to him having a bad game or a good game. And his good games to me don't look like they look to you, and his bad games don't look like they look to me. So last game, I said that Fred VanVleet played a near perfect game. If you haven't checked out that video, you can go check it out. I definitely did say that. Even though he didn't have huge numbers, it just felt like he played a much better game. Tonight, we saw a little bit of both, right? We saw a little bit of off the ball movement, which was good. We saw attacks off the dribble where he left it high off the glass, further away from the rim, a little Tony Parker-esque, which I really loved. That was great. We saw him relocating off the ball, moving off the ball to hunt for his opportunities, on three-pointers. Those were all good. But then you look at some of those shots that missed, and you really have to argue with, were those good shots? Were some of those good shots? And it's not really even the shot selection. The shot selection with Fred VanVleet is always going to be a little bit shaky. There's always going to be 3, 4, 5 plays a game where he just calls his number and it's a bad shot, it's out of rhythm. But what's most bothersome is how much, and I feel like a broken record here, how much he dominates the ball in offense. So you look at how much the offense crawls sometimes when he has the ball, right? Now you're going to look at a play where Fred dribbles, slowly dribbles up the court, dribbles into his first play. And then, he rejects a screen or accepts a screen, goes past, pulls it out. And now there's like 6 seconds on the clock. And then he passes to Chris Boucher of all players on the perimeter and says, "Hey, Chris, I know you're a limited ball handler and having a tough shooting season. Go create something." And Chris Boucher has a really, really tough shot. And you at home are probably thinking, well, that was a stupid shot by Chris Boucher. It's not Chris Boucher's fault that he has to take that shot, because there really isn't a lot of options you're giving a player when you consistently give them the ball with 5 seconds, 4 seconds on the clock, right? So the Raptors need to move into their offense a little bit earlier. I don't know if this is Nurse maybe overplaying Fred VanVleet, so he's a little bit tired, but there's at least 20 to 30 possessions every single game where it's a wide open guy underneath the basket, just misses it. Or there's a pass, that could have created some gravity for that shooter, which could have created something else. And it's like, when you really go back and break down the game film, there's just so many errors that just escape, the coach's eye or your eye sitting at home when you're not watching with a critical eye. And then you cross-reference it to a player who is truly cerebral point guard like Chris Paul, or, even someone like Derrick Rose. More experienced guys who really have that sort of star quality in their mind, and they really understand the game a little bit better, and you just don't see those mistakes. So I just think that the ball needs to move out of his hands. I think it's pretty obvious that really good things happen when Scottie has the ball in his hands, and I'm not seeing enough of that for my liking. My third takeaway of the night, it's sort of piggybacking on my second point, is that this team just has the collective basketball IQ of a brick. And it's really weird to see, because on the one side, you do have players with pretty high basketball IQ. You have guys like OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, Svi Mykhailiuk, to some extent, Malachi Flynn, definitely Khem Birch, guys who just routinely put themselves in the right place. They do these little things that don't show up in the box score. They sort of screen assists, they hold screens properly, they relocate properly, they don't clog the paint. They don't get in the way constantly, right? But then there are guys like Chris Boucher, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., where it's just like, oh my God, Precious Achiuwa, right? Where they're always in the way. And I can't quite, I could list 100 plays in every single game, offense and defense, where there's just mistakes, okay? So I'll give you an example. So let's say OG has a mismatch on the perimeter, right? So the right move, and the move that Svi or Scottie or Khem would do in that case, would be to read that situation, process the situation, and say, I need to clear out. I need to clear out of the way so that he can attack this, and then he can create more of a double team and then kick out. Or he can create double team and score. Or they don't commit to a double team and then he can score that way. But what Chris Boucher will do is he'll demand a post up right in the way. So now, not only is Chris Boucher in the way of that potential drive, but his man is also in the way as a defender. And his man tonight was, for the most part, Andre Drummond, which is a pretty big dude to go over. So it forces the pass, right? So these are these small things that you don't notice as someone, at home who's just watching the game. You might think Chris Boucher just had a bad shot, but it's like you don't realize that him doing that actually cost you a really great opportunity by hunting that post up. Because I think there's too much niceness on this team. I think the guys are just too nice. And I think that the guys who are really smart happen to be the guys who are the nicest guys on the team. And I think they just need to, I think they need the coach, really. I think this comes down to Nick Nurse, where he just has to say, look, guys, this is just not working. All right. This at some point in the second and third quarter, when the Raptors were really struggling, it felt like the guy who dribbled it up the court was the guy who was going to take the shot no matter what, right? This Raptors offense has just looked terrible. I feel like I talk about it every single game. I'm kind of sick and tired of talking about it at this point, but it just comes down to low basketball IQ. And I'm going to do a video breakdown for Pensare Basketball, probably tonight, maybe tomorrow, and just break down this game and talk about what the hell is actually happening on the court. Because again, in real time, it's really hard to see, unless you're a coach, unless you're a scout, it's really hard to see. But I really want to break it down. And it's sort of sad to me that a professional basketball team is just so bad at offense. Like, this is truly terrible, right? Like, how do you not, okay, Scottie Barnes against Andre Drummond. That is a mismatch born in hell for the Philadelphia 76ers. How do you not exploit that even once? How do you not? Because there aren't any other shot blockers on the... Tobias Harris is not blocking Scottie Barnes. You could literally have milked that mismatch 15 times a game. You could have gotten Scottie Barnes 40 points tonight, right? OG against Andre Drummond. How do you not milk that? Until the very last minute of the game, that mismatch was there the entire game. You could have played Andre Drummond right off the floor, and they didn't, and it just, I'm at a loss for words. These games, you might sound like I'm raining on your parade. If you're a Raptor fan, you're obviously tuning in after a win, and you're expecting me to be very hyped, and you're expecting me to say, Fred VanVleet had a great game, Scottie Barnes is the future MVP of the league, and, OG Anunoby is great, and sorry guys, I'm a basketball fan, but I'm also a person who has watched this game for 25 years, and tonight's win, Freudian slip there, feels like a loss to me, because up until about 46 minutes in the game, this still felt like it could have gone either way. And the Philadelphia 76ers were missing 3 of their 5 best players. Okay, Matisse Thybulle is a first-team all-defense guy. Ben Simmons is a first-team all-defense guy. And Joel Embiid is probably a second-team all-defense guy. Guys, I mean, what are you talking about here, right? This is probably the 3rd best team in the league when healthy, right? Maybe the 3rd best team in the East when healthy. If Ben Simmons is playing, they're a really good team, okay? But you cannot ignore the fact that they are missing 3 of their top 5 players, and you allowed Tyrese freaking Maxey, who's a very good young player, but not the all-star we made him look like tonight, to roast you. And on the other end, you couldn't get anything going against this defense. Tobias Harris is not a good defender. Andre Drummond is not a good defender. Tyrese Maxey is not a great defender. Seth Curry is not a great defender. Honestly, I'm not shocked that Fred VanVleet walked into tonight thinking, I'm going to get 30, 40 points tonight. Because looking at this defense, he was going to get 30, 40 points, obviously. I'm just sad that so often his 30, 40-point games kind of come at the expense of everybody else and expense of the team. So that's sort of my takeaway for tonight. Make sure to hit subscribe if you want more depressing Raptors coverage after wins. Make sure to hit subscribe on Basketball Zone. Helps the algorithm, helps get these videos out there. Hit the notifications. Let us know in the comments below. Am I being a sourpuss? Am I being an asshole? Like, am I just harping on Fred VanVleet too badly? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And you know what? I'll actually engage with you in the comments too. So check it out. Raptors against the Pistons, I believe, on Saturday. Looking forward to watching Cade Cunningham versus Scottie Barnes round 1. And yeah, peace.